Hi everyone, my name is Thandi Elina Mazibuko and this is Thandi Science. Today we're going to be talking about a few tips for when writing physical sciences paper 1. This is especially aimed at grade 12 learners because we know that you guys are going to be writing your physics paper 1 on the 12th of November and your paper 2 on the 15th. So this is the year 2021. I'm trying to find a marker. I'm trying to see where my okay, that is fine. Anyway, so let us go to the first tip. So one thing that I would say is that you need to know how to work with vectors. So remember, before knowing how to work with vectors, you first need to know how to differentiate between vectors and scalars. So you need to know your vector quantities as well as your scalar quantities. Remember, vectors both are physical quantities with both magnitude and direction. So why is it important for you to know how to work with vectors? Direction. One word, direction. So when you write in those papers, remember you always have to kind of choose a frame of reference. What do I mean by that? That means that you have to sometimes say up is positive, especially when you're working with vectors. Up is positive, down is negative, or maybe upwards is negative and downwards is positive. It doesn't matter what you choose, but then you have to know and define those direction. Or maybe east is negative and west is positive, left is negative, right is positive, so that you can actually substitute a negative when you need to. Otherwise you find yourself substituting a negative quantity where you're supposed to substitute a positive quantity, and that will actually make you lose a couple of marks. And the second thing I would say, when you're reading a scenario, when you're given a question statement, always try to draw the sketch of what is being described. This will help you in terms of thinking and just kind of visually seeing the situation that they're describing. For example, if they say an object is or a car is moving east at a velocity of what, and maybe there's an applied force of a certain value, try to draw that schematic of a car moving east, and show also that there's a force being applied. That will genuinely help you visualize the situation so that you can go about, or you can start actually answering it. And the most important thing, the third thing, is please know how to convert. So for example, if you're given mass in grams, you know that the unit for that, the SI unit for that is kilograms, and you actually have to first convert from grams to kilograms. Otherwise your answers are going to be wrong. This is very, very important for both paper 1 and paper 2. Those conversions, you don't want to find yourself losing marks. And always know what is the accepted SI unit. For example, velocity is measured in meters per second squared, but then if you're given kilometers per hour, you first have to convert that kilometers per hour to meters per second squared so that you can actually substitute it in your formula. Another thing, and this may seem like, okay, who doesn't know how to use their calculator? But I've actually seen scripts where I'm like, this person actually doesn't know how to use their calculators. Most people are using that Casio calculator, know how to use it. Otherwise you find yourself putting things in your calculator and getting the wrong answers. Remember those brackets. I always say, it's very important to put things in brackets, because it's really going to help you in terms of arriving at the right answer. Because with calculators and Bodmans, you can get a wrong answer sometimes if you don't know how to use your calculator properly. And the fifth thing is use the number of, so if you're given a question, let's say a question says calculate the velocity of this car, and it says the number of marks is like 3. That to you is a guide that they're actually looking for 3 steps. So the formula is going to give you a mark, the substitution is going to give you a mark, and then the final answer will give you a mark. So in terms of, again, linking this to knowing how to use your calculator, if it's 3 marks, you don't need to write 10 steps to actually arrive to the final answer, because what is happening, you wasting time. And remember, your paper is like 3 3 hours. How is like 180 minutes. So use the number of marks as guidelines. And we're gonna talk about time later in this presentation. So remember, if it's 3 marks, formula is 1 mark, substitution is another mark, and the final answer is another mark. So instead of trying to do things, calculations individually, you can just substitute everything into one formula and put it in your calculator so that you can save time. And then the other thing is that please know your keywords in definitions. So in physical sciences, you will, in that paper, they will definitely ask you to state something, to give a definition of something. Perhaps they may say state the law of conservation of linear momentum. So what would the keyword there be? Keywords would then be something like isolated system. So no matter how you phrase it, make sure that at least somewhere that you talk about an isolated system, and you talk about constant, or that it remains constant, or it is conserved. If those keywords are not there, then you may possibly lose marks. The other thing that is quite important is that you should familiarize yourself with the formula sheet. So when you're writing, at the back of your question paper, you're actually given a formula sheet. Before you go, it's standard, it's the same throughout, and you should now be familiar with it. If you're not, look at it and look how it is structured, and try to see if you can actually identify those formulas and what they mean. Familiarize yourself with it so that, but also it's important for you to actually know the formulas. Don't say, okay, we're given formulas so that I don't have to study. No, it doesn't work like that. So familiarize yourself with that formula sheet. So I see that I didn't include the thing with time. So yes, okay, where is it that I'm talking about? Okay, so use the number of marks as guidelines. The other thing that I wanted to say with respect to this was that you're writing out of 150 marks, you're given 3 hours, and I would say a tip that I would say is that 1 mark, 1 minute for 1 mark. So that means after 150 minutes, you most likely should be done with your question paper, and then it allows you 30 minutes to actually check and confirm that you've written everything, that your calculations are correct. 1 minute, 1 mark. And then the last thing before we end this video is just that you guys just remember to breathe in, breathe out. You've got this. I know that you guys are quite anxious, it's your final exam, but if you prepare well enough, you actually have nothing to worry about. So thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, please like it, share it, leave a comment if you have some additional tips that you think I may have left out in the video. And yeah, I'll see you on the next video.